Mivos is an attempt to bring together Latinx communities throughout the state of Michigan to explore through bookmaking the idea of political participation and political power. The specific book that I teach folks how to make is called a cartonera, and it's a cardboard bound book that participants can fill with their own original artwork, as well as source materials such as book chapters, quotes, music video, stills, song lyrics, etc. I really wanted to do something that engaged the community leading up to the presidential election, and kind of talk about this idea of political participation and political power. My workshops were intended to talk about political participation in a very like holistic way and engage folks that are unable to vote, such as undocumented folks and folks under 18. I have been incorporating these books as a way to bring together community and specifically Latinx communities to both self reflect and to think about an individual experience that they've had. Of course, because of COVID, workshops have kind of taken a pause and Mivos has gone through a lot of pivots. I was really angry about a lot of things that were coming out. Um, about specifically like essential workers, who was being left out of the conversation around essential workers. I was feeling scared that there wasn't enough um, literature that was properly translated. I was scared about people that had no choice but to go and work, but they weren't being provided any sort of safe work um, setting or hazard pay or anything like that. I decided I'm gonna just put something out once a week, and I'll kind of use the format of the cartonera. I will um, set it up in a way so that it's digital and can be accessed by people. And I will also do it in a way where it links out to resources and to news articles. I decided to create Stay Home, Stay Woke, which was a weekly digital cartonera newsletter that went out. I would hand paint the covers every week, and each week would be a new theme. So I also talked about the census. Obviously, I talked about COVID. I talked about farm workers. I talked about health disparities in the Latino community, um, Black Lives Matter. I talked about the movement for Black Lives because I was also putting this out when the murders of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor were being protested. And I just saw it as a really good opportunity to get out information that was both in English and in Spanish. It became this platform for me to just like vent all my anger out in actionable ways as well, because, I would link petitions to sign, phone numbers to call, actions to participate in, resources in Spanish, a bunch of different things that I hope could, help people that were receiving or knew people that needed that extra help too. Whenever I'm looking at communities to collaborate with, I try to pull from my own positionality, also acknowledging the nuances. Just because I'm a Latina doesn't mean like I'm the right person to tell a story. And I think that with this project specifically, um, and this kind of speaks to my ethos around community engagement. I don't want to take the center stage. It's not about me. I just see myself as a facilitator. I see myself as a person that brings the materials, sets up the scenario, sets up the situation, asks the question, and just kind of guides people through an exploration. I try to remind everyone that there's no right or wrong answer, and that regardless of if they see themselves as an artist or not, they have a creative voice. And if there's anything that I think that I um, do that's special as an artist, is just kind of recognize that and help pull it out a little bit more. And that's it. It's not my collection that's made at the end of the day. It's our collection. So, like being a Latina from California coming to Michigan, I'm kind of new to the Michigan Latinx community. I also put myself in a position of being a learner, and I want to learn and I want to hear what folks who grew up in Michigan, what that experience is like. And it's an opportunity to, you know, step out of whatever kind of ideas I have and just listen. And I'm a real big firm believer that everyone's an expert in something. And all you have to do is just ask them what that is and listen. With my project, I was really adamant about pushing against that particular stereotype of, Latinx folks aren't in Michigan. That's a lie. And that they don't have any power in Michigan. Again, a lie. And that's just eligible voters. There are thousands of Latinx folks here that aren't because they're young or they're undocumented. And so I wanted to push up against that. And then I also wanted to push up against stereotypes of what, again, political participation is, and that's not just voting. Voting is important. It's a right when you are a US citizen. But what happens if you're not a US citizen? Does that mean that you're totally, completely destined to the shadows? Or if you're a kid? And I just want to talk about and open up the idea of political participation to be what it really is, which is being in community, having power in your community, still having a voice. Just because you're not one way or another doesn't mean that your voice isn't valuable and that it should not be heard. And something that I think is really important and kind of comes into this idea of political power is realizing that everyone has their own kind of perspective on things and that everyone has like a voice in articulating what their perspective is. And so the beauty of these workshops is that you're kind of working alone. You're creating your own object at the end of the day, but you're also sitting around with other people. And you start to kind of have these conversations with each other. It's very individual in terms of like that reflective time. And there's just this kind of very casual conversation happening. No one's kind of being put on the spot. No one has a right or wrong answer. Even people that I sense would feel really panic stricken by the thought of having to like paint something or put something together, they kind of ease into it really quickly. And I think that has to do with like how unprecious the materials are. Like it's just cardboard and paint at the end of the day and paper. Um, and it's really, really just super low stakes. And I think that that's what allows people to kind of tap into a question that they might not have really ever thought about and just interpret it in a way that's like their own signature way of thinking. I'm not putting a narrative onto anyone. I'm just inviting people to come in, spend an hour together, participate in something, share their own unique perspective, and then they kind of can walk away having, you know, participated in something. And so I think that community engagement is really about understanding yourself and how you navigate the world and what you can and can't ask of people. And I think too that community engagement, it's a committed practice. For people who are participating in the workshop, my goals are really for them to enter into it willingly. And by that I mean to kind of release whatever expectations they have and to release any idea of what it means to be an artist and to just kind of be in the moment and have fun with your cardboard and paint and collage materials and whatever you want to write down or draw. Just kind of have fun with it. What I want viewers to think about is I want them to think about how do you understand your political power? And then also I'm giving kind of another layer of participation for the banners. I would really love for participants to call the number that's on the banner. I would love for them to either text or call that number and just participate in this kind of larger project, have your voice kind of um, represented. And what I'll do with those sound bites and with those texts is put them into a digital cartoneta that'll be kind of ever growing, ever changing, and you'll be able to kind of see yourself a part of that collection? I think that it's important that a woman is telling this story or facilitating this story because I don't even think it has to do with men or women. I think it's more a feminist perspective and a feminist framework because within feminism and the way that I have learned about it and embody it, it's actually a very inclusive framework and practice that is about distributing the power, amplifying, and that it's abundant. It's not um it's there's no scarcity around power and political power. Or that's what I really want to remind people, that it's community, it's care, it's about elevating your own voice and elevating each other's voices at the same time. It's not competitive. There's no need for competition when it comes to this. And so I think that with these workshops and with facilitating this particular story, um, it's really about that kind of feminist approach.